Hello, friends. This is Sukhwant Singh. I always believe in one fact that we always have the opportunity of learning when we develop the habit of reading, listening, and when we are in touch with friends who are into a lot of learning and sharing too. One of my colleagues from DPS Korba, ex-colleagues, Pama Govindrajan, has been sharing few very inspiring stories on her Facebook wall. More than the stories, I look forward to the way she puts it across, which really attracts me. She tells the source about from where she got to know about that story, and also puts across a few of very uh, wise comments. And then, of course, there are a few students who uh, also put their very valuable comments. And another colleague of mine, Renu Jain from DPS Korba, also puts across her views. So I always look forward to them. Yesterday, Bama shared a story about the Japanese system of uh, teaching and learning. The gist of that was that in Japan there is a system prevailing that what they teach they do not test immediately. For example, they teach the skill of painting, and then they don't go in for testing whether the learner has learned to paint or not. They just leave it for months together, years together, and then again, one fine day, they call the student and ask him to paint. In this way, what is left is only the learning part, and what has been taught, that is not being tested. Isn't it amazing? Now, in response to this short story, Renu Jain, she shared something which was so valuable, which I could connect with what I learned from Guru Granth Sahib Ji, from Kabir Ji. Renu Jain, she shared a story of Shvetaketu. This story of Shvetaketu, I was surprised that it is written in Chandogya Upanishad, which is part of Veda. Now, in this story about Shvetaketu, we come to know that he was a great scholar. As you all know, that in olden days, students used to go and learn under a guru, and so was Shvetaketu sent by his father to a guru to learn. At the Gurukul, Shvetaketu proved himself to be a very scholarly kind of student. And when his guru saw that he had learned so many things, he called him one day and said, you have passed all your tests with what we call in the present days flying colors, and he sent him home. Shvetaketu goes home and meets his father, takes his to take his blessings, and tells him that, well, I have come with after finishing all my learning, and Guru has said that I have proved myself to be a scholar. Now, what Shvetaketu observed by staying in his home, that his father was not that happy. He found him a little disappointed. And then one fine day he asked him, please tell me, father, have I disappointed you? Are you not happy with my learning? And the father said, no, it's not like that, but still I have a few questions in my mind. Shvetaketu said, please tell me, what are your doubts? And his father said, Well, have you learned something by which you don't have to learn anything more? Shvetaketu said, well, it's not like that. I don't feel that I have learned something by which I don't have to learn anything more. Then his father asked him, have you come to know about something by knowing which all your sorrows and worries will cease? Shvetaketu reflected again and said, well, I don't think so. I have learned something, and whatever I have learned, all I know is I can teach someone about all that I have learned. And then his father asked him the final question. He said, has your guru taught you that which cannot be taught? Now, Shvetaketu was, in spite of all his scholarly records, was utterly confused. He said, well, Father, how can something be taught which cannot be taught? And his father said, well, for that you go back to your guru and ask him to teach you that which cannot be taught. And Shvetaketu, like an obedient student, he goes back to his guru, and guru finds him and he asks him, why have you come? And he tells him all that his father had told him. And he said, I'm sorry, master, but as my father has sent me to you, I am really curious to know that how can you teach me something that cannot be taught? So please help me out. The master, who was a wise man, said, well, I cannot teach you directly, but I will try to teach you that your father wants you to learn in an indirect way, because even I am incapable of teaching you directly. And Shvetaketu said, well, how is that going to be? And then you know what happened? The master told Shvetaketu that take 400 animals from the ashram and go deep into the jungle. Go so deep that you don't come across any human beings. And live with the animals in that particular place till the number raises from 400 to 1000, and then come back to me. And as an obedient student, Shvetaketu took 400 animals and went deep, 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 deep into the jungle to a place where there were really no human beings. He had to live with the animals, those 400 animals, till they multiplied into 1000. So days passed by, and as days passed by, our Shvetaketu had stopped talking because there was no one to understand what he was talking. So he became silent. Now, after a few more days, he had to even stop thinking, because thinking made no difference. He found that the more he thought, the more complex things were appearing to be in comparison to the animals who were around him. He found that they were rather enjoying the whatever they were doing, whatever they were eating, and he stopped thinking. So when thinking stopped, his thoughts vanished. And when there was silence in his life, when thoughts vanished, his ego also vanished. Who was he to go? Who was he? To whom was he going to show his knowledge? All that he had learnt, all the scholarly accolades that he had gathered, he was not able to show it to the animals. The animals were, of course, not going to appreciate his knowledge. So he lost his ego. He gave up showing off to anyone that he knows something. So when silence took place, when thoughts vanished, when ego vanished, so did the past. He stopped wondering, he stopped thinking. And when past dropped, the future also dropped. Everything vanished for him. And it so happened that as time passed, those 400 animals turned into finally 1,000 animals. And then it is said in the Upanishad that one of the cows reminded Shvetaketu that we have turned 1,000, and as per your master, you are supposed to take us all back, and you too need to go back to him. And then he said, okay, come, let's go. And they all went back. And when later from the ashram, when the master saw Shvetaketu returning with those 1,000 animals, you know what did he tell to other disciples who were there? He said, look there. There comes 1,001 animals. Shvetaketu also had become so humble, so silent, that his master took him to be part of another animal. All those animals were there. Shvetaketu came to him, and master asked him, what brings you now to me? Because the master knew that he had learned, he had been taught what cannot be taught. So he said, now what for have you come? And Shvetaketu, with folded hands, he said, I have come to pay my gratitude to you, to thank you for teaching me something which cannot be taught. Once you come to know the truth, it's so difficult to put it across to anyone. Kabirji says, Kahe ko bakwaat lagayo. Kabirji is pretty, straightforward and rude in so many of his sayings. He straight away says, Kahe ko bakwaat. Bakwaat means bakwas. Kahe ko bakwaat lagayo. Why are you arguing, oh my friends? And why are you debating, having disputes? God is there, God is not there. He said, Kahe ko bakwaat lagayo? Because in the next line he says, Jin har payo tinhe lukayo. Lukayo means they don't go out and reveal that I have found the God. Similarly, it is said when Buddha was asked, is there God? And Buddha had rather kept quiet. And people believed that Buddha didn't believe in God. Guru Nanak says, Manne ki gat kahi na jaye, je ko kahe piche pachtaye. What you have learnt, once you have come to believe, it's so difficult to put it across. Something which has been taught with the Guru's blessings and cannot be taught, that is the ultimate. I hope you have heard the story, and if needed, you can go back to it again and again and listen to it and try to cherish it. Thank you so much.